Hi, this is Vincent Borbely for CSC 386's third assignment. I'm just going to get right into it. So I've combined kind of both parts into one here. And really the only part that's not functioning is I don't quite have strings being passed in between the two as part of the lots of data. But as you can see, the client, it builds packets as it goes. It's extracting packets. Sometimes it's duplicating, so I've also made sure that duplication works still. It sends items currently with just two ints per item to the server, which will then do its own things over on this end. It receives the items it needs to. When it gets a duplicate, it trashes it, and eventually it will reverse, send back in reverse order. The client will get these in reverse order, and as you can see here, the final product is, it speaks for itself. It passes memory tracking on both ends. So I'll just get into explaining it a little bit. I've gotten around to making a network manager here on both ends, of course with the usual the type and the struct that I had before, but kind of restructured now to be a packet header with serialization and deserialization, and a function to check if it's equal. And then of course the network manager itself with a bunch of different functions for duplication probability and sending messages and whatnot. So duplication probability is easy enough. You can just set it, and then when you're sending messages to the opposite side, you could have a random chance to duplicate. Or not random, but you get the idea. And then building the packet, we have all these variables passed in. Depending on the type of the packet passed in, we would build in accordance to those specifications. So it would set the proper size and then serialize the packet no matter what, really. And then, of course, it would set the proper length to be sent later on, copy everything it needs to the buffer. It does sort of the inverse of this when extracting the packet, and this is on both ends, client and server, I should say. My lots of data, again, I mentioned it's only two ints for now. I couldn't quite get string working. But it has serialization, deserialization, and a little function to print its contents here. So my client and server are still kind of messy, even despite the network manager I've made, but I make my own list of lots of data, push them in where they need to be, set the duplication probability, and I just kind of go down the line. Now this has changed to be the way I do it, at least, is I would build the packet and then send that packet out through my send message, which has hardly changed since the first iteration I did, or I should say assignment 2. And then, it's pretty similar to assignment 2. We're still going down the line, checking, waiting for acts. If we get duplicates now, it either trashes them or waits for another message. And we go all the way down the line. By this point, it would have reached server, so I'll show server off so you can also see that. Yeah, server expects the list to start. When it gets a duplicate, it just trashes it, and that's kind of it. It reverses the list and starts sending back, and as you've seen, it works. So, yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a mess down there. I should clean that up. But otherwise, I'd say it's a good enough assignment.